some of the conversations that we will be having this morning. And one of them is, okay, so after the Adani deal, what next? And our guest for this hour is already seated. And even as we get into it, I want us to say a welcome to engineer Githae Mwaniki, who is a senior consultant, the Aviation Information Consultants. Good morning, engineer.
Morning.
How are you?
All well.
All well?
All well.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So, I mean, how apt a conversation, isn't it, to be having this morning? So, karibu sana to the hot seat of the Situation Room. It's a hot topic and one we must look at in terms of, what's been happening in the public arena. And also then what happens to an airport in this part of the region that has always been seen as the hub, and probably still is the hub for a lot of takeoffs and landings, connecting flights, etc., etc. What kind of airport should you have? Political controversy aside. But before we get into that, first of all, a welcome to you. And speaking of flying, CT flies all over the continent every week. Every week he lands in a different African country and he brings back a basket of proverbs. This week we've been in Angola.
Ah, okay.
Right. Don't ask us how we get there, Emirates. But he's going to share the proverb with you. Then let us know what you think about it and how you'd interpret it.
Okay.
Okay.
You cannot do without water, even if it drowned your child. You cannot do without water, even if it drowned your child.
I'll give it very simple. The basic one and the in-depth one. The basic one will be water is an essential need, and it's not a want, it's a need. You need it. However, just like everything, it needs to be used properly so that it works for you. So if you put it in a swimming pool and you are there enjoying, you need to know that it has to be used in the proper way so that safety is not compromised. So yeah, you need it, but that very thing that you need it, if used in the wrong way, can give you the wrong results.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. That very thing which you need, if used in the wrong way, can give you the wrong results. Okay. I think we can apply this to almost anything that we speak about, but even very apt to what we're having a conversation about today. The upgrade and the management of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and maybe a few more around the country was taken into... we were in turmoil. There was a whole storm about it. It was politically tinged in one way. But then the question of the actual infrastructure around an airport in Nairobi, in Kenya, which is a hub for the region, then really took the lower end of the conversation. And because of certain things, we then saw that the deal that would see JKIA upgraded and then managed over the next 3 decades then was chucked out. But that did not take away the need for the upgrade of the airport. Whichever way we want to color it, they still looked as though there needed to be an upgrade. So let's start from there.
Yes.
Engineer, looking at the airport and trying as much as possible not to color it politically, is there a need for JKIA as it is right now to be upgraded to any kind of status?
Okay. Again, thank you very much for inviting me. I will kindly request for a minute. We rewind a bit why we are here. Okay? So that will tell you and inform you why we are here. Kenya is a hub and has been a hub for quite some time. And back even before independence, we did our first airport, which was initially a Maram airport and then later upgraded to Embakasi Airport, then 1958. Then that is what worked as Nairobi Airport. So it served us for quite some time. And in the wisdom of the government then, much later in the 70s, we did what is now JKIA. Later renamed JKIA immediately after the former President Jomo Kenyatta died, and Moi took over. So that airport had been designed with a very good vision to take us for 20 years. That was the plan, 20, 25 years. Okay. Initially, it was designed with a very good design, with a terminal structure, which is what we refer to as a concave terminal structure, not a standalone. So you maximize on the number of aircraft that can park. It was and is still a single runway airport design. And by then, when it was opened and renamed JKIA, it was designed initially for 2.5 million pax. Okay. Then we had the hub carrier, which was the East African Airways then, later transitioned to Kenya Airways. So it worked, and the design was to work for about 20-25 years. That was the plan.
So from the 1970s,
yes,
it would essentially have worked with that plan, 2.5 million pax, serving the region, and of course externally until 1995, essentially.
Plus or minus.
Okay.
Plus or minus.
All right.
During that time, a few improvements were made to the terminal structure and a bit to the aprons, to expand a bit of the apron.
What's an apron?
Oh, let's go slowly.
Not that.
Let's go slowly. What is an airport? Airport is three things. You need the runway. That is what you know. Then you need the taxiway. The taxiway is how the aircraft exits and enters the runway. That's a taxiway. And then you have the aprons. The aprons is a parking area. That's where the aircraft parks. So that is
where you see those guys with the
correct.
The lighting.
Correct.
Okay.
So that is an apron. Then you have the terminal. Okay, that is where now you as a passenger you enter, and if it's a good a terminal, it is well designed. If it is international, they're supposed to be a separate section for departure and arrivals. Okay. That is an international standard. So that is a terminal. Okay. And then the other part is the navigation part, which is the control tower. And now the associated lightings on the apron, the taxiway, and the runway. Okay. So that is the airport. And that is what we call that generates aeronautical revenue, meaning it's directly involved in the aircraft operation. Anything outside that is non-aeronautical. Okay, meaning it supports the existing, but as good airport management, you can subcontract that to somebody else. The person managing the airport does not have to manage the others. This you mean the service provision, the hotels, the parking areas, all those, they are not a core function. But when you have those three working effectively, then you have an airport.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So we are at 1995 now.
Yes.
When the original design is supposed to have, operated until
correct
an upgrade was needed.
Correct. Because you design an airport with a certain design capacity, and that you look at your hub carrier and you say this is the traffic that is there. So you design an airport that the maximum capacity of the airport should always be more than what is the actual passenger output. Okay. That's how you do.
All right.
So that you have that fluid, and you always ensure when you arrive at the airport, you don't find nasty queues in the morning. You are well handled. The congestion is not there. That means that's an airport that is working.
Okay.
So, and then when you do this, you cannot do it independently. You've got to look at who is the hub carrier in that airport, because the hub carrier drives traffic, and the hub carrier attracts traffic. Okay, so in another day, we'll have a conversation of the importance of the hub carrier, which for now is Kenya Airways.
Kenya Airways.
So that you need to understand why you need a hub carrier. You don't want a hub carrier, you need a hub carrier. Okay. So JKIA was working well until around 1997, 1998. Beyond there, we started feeling the pinch.
Okay.
Because the congestion started coming in. And then a good thing was that KQ was now performing fairly well. The fleet numbers were coming up. Passenger numbers were coming up. Kenya was getting into more and more bilateral service agreements to attract other airlines. So traffic was slowly building up and building up. Our neighbors were not doing so well. Okay, so everyone within the Eastern African region preferred Nairobi. Up to and including the shock on you. There was a time that we had a war in Ethiopia. And Ethiopian Airlines could not continue operating out of Addis then. What did they do?
Come to Nairobi.
They came to Nairobi. And, it was a good thing and it was a bad thing later, but they came to Nairobi. And they cemented the role of Jomo as a hub. And during the same time, KQ was performing. However, now, how are we managing our airports? That is where the problem comes in.
Okay.
Before 1991, we had the Department of Aerodromes, okay, which was later now upgraded. We had two aviation entities. We had the Department of Aerodromes and the Directorate of the Civil Aviation. So the Department of Aerodromes the role was to manage all the aerodromes. And aerodrome means where an aircraft can land.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was its role. Then later it was upgraded by a new law, CAP 395, to create Kenya Airports Authority. Okay. So that was tasked with the job of now managing all the airports. Okay. So that was good till there. But that organization from onset has never been well aligned to manage airports effectively. Why? Even when it was created and then placed in the office of the president, not Ministry of Transport. So it was like, why? But if you look behind,
just rewind. you just go back.
Yeah.
I had Ministry and Office of the President.
Yes.
Okay, let's start. This thing which was
KIA was created.
Kenya Airports Authority.
Yeah, Kenya Airports Authority was created by an act of parliament, CAP 395, to create KIA and to take over from where the Department of Aerodromes was. Okay. When it was created as an authority, it has a board, and the board is appointed, the chair is appointed to the president, and a few other representatives from other bodies. But the way it was created and placed under the office of the president, that tells you something.
It's not in transport?
Was. I'm telling you the history, where we are coming from.
This is very good. Let's go. Yes.
So it was placed under the office of the president. Why? This is in the 90s. Why? As you know, airport fees and all that KIA is one of the topmost foreign currency collectors for government. So they view it as a cash collector. Okay. So even from then, the former president used to see it as a source of dollars. Let's just call it for what it is.
Okay.
And it was a source of dollars, was it not?
It is a source of dollars till now.
So today.
So his site was correct.
Yes. So yes, it's good to see it that way, but are you feeding that cow that is bringing you the milk? Story for another day.
Okay.
But you can see that subset already has a problem. Let me tell you why it's a problem. One, the Minister of Transport is the one who is overlaying the aviation policy in the country. So when the Minister of Transport cannot oversee the management of the airport, then that's a disconnect.
Yes.
Because anything he has to do, he has to go back to office of the president.
You used the phrase, and I know Dennis has a question, just sorry, but I think it's a really pleasant way of you saying, because you said that the department was not well aligned to manage the airport's priorities. As a nice way of basically saying that it was taken and put in a corner so it could not essentially do its job.
Correct. And it does not serve the interest of the aviation industry in Kenya. Okay. the agenda largely was the hijack of the roles of KAA have been from that time where it is not the industry needs that take center stage, it is political interests
that
takes center stage.
Okay.
We don't have a problem with politics, but they should not be number one.
Okay.
They should be number two, number three.
Okay.
Yes.
So in terms of politics taking center stage instead of the industry needs, pretty much, how did this affect the growth and development or the change of JKIA at the point where it was supposed to be changing and developing to be something greater?
Correct. As an organization, please note, JKIA generates about 82 to 83% of KA's revenue. Okay? And then please note that KA, even from then, has only 3 airports that actually make money. That is JKIA, that is Wilson Airport, and Moi International Airport, Mombasa. So those are the ones that generate the money. Okay? All these other airports that you see are not commercially viable. They are there for strategic interest, for health, for regional connectivity, but they don't make money. It's not a problem, but you're also supposed to ensure that the ones that make money get the lion's interest.
How exactly do you ensure that an airport makes money? What is it that makes an airport money?
An airport makes money out of what we refer to as the aeronautical revenue, that is the landing and parking fees by all the aircraft operators, that is the airlines, the charter operators, and all that. So there's a landing fee, there is a parking fee. Then there is the second huge chunk of aeronautical revenue, which is the passenger fees. So each and every departing passenger will pay a certain amount as paid by the operator.
Okay.
Yes. So that's how it works.
Let's answer, if you could look at this before we go to break. So if JKIA as an entity requires an upgrade, which you've established that it does, that when you introduce a new system, that you're looking at a 25-year period within which it's going to operate, and maybe taking into some more numbers into consideration. So come 1996, 1997, you've already established that an upgrade was required. Now, through an act of parliament, or rather, right?
Yeah.
KAA was established. So if anybody, or if anybody would be aware of an upgrade that was necessary to implement and operationalize it, it would be KAA.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Right?
As the executive
As an
agency.
exactly. So, has KAA since 1996, and we're now in 2024, when now the story of upgrades has been more robust than it ever has been. Before, we have seen, we go through the airport every now and then, we've seen that there have been upgrades. Terminals 1, 2 have been established. There's been a separation between local and international. All of those things have happened right here in this entity. In this one that then now saw that an upgrade would take place and be managed by an external party, where was the inclusion or engagement of KAA in all of this?
Good. 3 things happened before that. Number 1, during the regime of our late President Mwai Kibaki, it was clearly identified that we need to upgrade, and action was taken. That is why the Greenfield Terminal was designed, procured, and eventually launched under Uhuru regime. So if that had come into play, we're talking of a clean sheet new terminal, Terminal 2, which was designed to increase the capacity by about 8 million passengers, over 55 desks, and was supposed to have cost about 55 billion.
Kenya shillings?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was launched and construction started in 2014. Okay. But because of competing tenderpreneur interests, it was later cancelled in end of 2015.
Explain that, please.
After a 4 billion deposit had been made.
4 billion shillings had been spent from this 55.
Yes.
Okay.
And later they pulled away and stop construction of the Greenfield terminal.
In which year was this?
The 2015. Construction stopped 2015. It was finally announced in 2016. And the reason that was given then was that we don't need this terminal. We can just make minor upgrades to the existing. And please know, the reason why we have Terminal 1, the new Terminal 1, was not because of proper planning and everything. It was because of the fire in 2013.
Okay.
Yes.
So they reacted. We have always been reacting. We reacted, so we saw it has been burnt. So the management said they no, let us not, this is our chance. So to build something else. So they did Terminal 1 and then later 1A, 1B, 1C. That was later. 2014, 2016, another milestone when construction of Greenfield was officially cancelled, and Hui later went to court with KIA. And after a long protracted battle that lasted almost 8 years, there was a settlement, and KIA paid an additional 5.2 billion as a settlement. And these are not my opinions. It is in the audited accounts for KIA.
Okay.
So it's not me who's saying. Just read the audited accounts. Everything is there. So Kenya lost. We lost the 4 billion that had been the deposit, and then later we had to compensate them with another 5.2 billion. So in the net, we lost about 9.3.
After the deposit of the 4 billion,
Yes.
did any construction take place?
Construction did start. There was a huge...
And what did it comprise of? Construction starting
Yes.
can mean you brought Maram.
Yes, they brought all the equipment.
Yes, all that.
They brought all the equipment, and they had been doing the foundation.
They had started excavating.
They started excavating, and those are huge holes
That exists today.
that used to come, and you see, they are digging really deep.
a 4 billion shillings hole.
All.
Now, in legal terms, you have signed a contract with a contractor. He assembles all the equipment and starts working. Okay? So,
The 4B is mobilization.
correct.
Yes.
As per the contract.
Okay. Engineer Githae Mwaniki is a senior consultant of the Aviation Information Consultants. And we're looking at, all right, after Adani out, what does that mean? And what are the needs actually for JKIA? We're going to come back and look at what got us to the point where we are right now with the conversations that are being had. What next for JKIA after the Adani pullout? Engineer Githae Mwaniki is a senior consultant and of the Aviation Information Consultants. And we're asking ourselves, so we've just come off the break, 9.3 billion shillings in the hole, but there's still a problem. JKIA still needs an upgrade.
Correct.
And then we've come down all this time, a little bit of work done here and there, but still some help is required. Yes?
Yes.
No? Where are we?
Where we are, so Greenfield was cancelled. Greenfield should have sorted out our terminal issues. Okay. Second is the development of the second runway. JKIA, as you know it today, has one single runway.
Yes.
4.2 kilometers, cut 2. So that's a problem. The design part of the master planning is that by the time we're supposed to have hit the 7 million passenger traffic mark, we should have done the second runway. Plans were done to do the second runway. Tendering was done again at the last stage in around this was 2018 now, under the former CS. It was informed to the public that that plan has been cancelled. Reason officially we were given is that the peak capacity of JKIA is still at 72%. So in their opinion, we didn't need a second runway. Second mistake we made.
By 72%, what do they mean?
When you're at peak capacity means like for Jomo, it is in the morning. So how congested is your airport, and how quickly can aircraft land and evacuate? So at what percentage are you using it? Okay. So usually in good airport design, by the time you hit 60%, when your peak is 60%, you should be starting to design your second runway. You should never get to 65-70%. Okay.
And we were at 72.
Yeah.
We were at 72 then, heading to 75.
So they said get to 100 before we do it, or what?
Because when development of even a second runway is a lot of work. You design it, you go and get the funding, construction will take more than a year. So you don't wait to hit that point.
But I thought with the Greenfield project, we done all this.
No, Greenfield is a terminal.
It was the terminal.
It was a terminal only.
Not the runway.
Not the second runway.
Okay.
So we're building a new terminal because the traffic, as in the human traffic, warranted a new terminal.
Correct.
Now, if it warranted a new terminal, then it means that more planes were also landing.
Correct.
So therefore, that's why we needed another runway.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
Correct. That's how it works.
Okay.
So key milestones, we lost Greenfield Terminal. We lost the second runway. So after that, it is just chaos. Because what are we doing? Patchwork and patchwork here, patchwork there, patchwork here. So we do not have now an airport that can serve us properly.
Okay, so
Yes.
all this work that we saw, because we did see it. I mean, I remember coming into to the country, and I remember the time that I came, there was a lot of construction going on.
Correct.
And so we were, diverted here. And then I even remember traveling, several times after that. And there was
Yes.
always something, there was
Yes.
always something happening at the airport. So there was
Correct.
patchwork, like you say, being
Yes.
done here and there.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask us to do a little bit of a jump
Yes.
to
Today.
where we are here.
Yes.
Because it's been established that there was a need for an upgrade.
Correct.
It was necessary to be done.
Correct.
So why then was it so difficult to have this Adani project come in and do it? Because you have proved over the last 20 years
Yes.
that you've not been able to do it.
Okay.
So why was there a problem for an external body to come and do what you've not been able to do for the last 30 years?
It was a quick kill move to try to sort out the problem, yet we had the solution that we are not implementing.
So you're saying...
So implement the solution. The solution is here. We don't need a grand master plan. It is just dust off the plans for the Greenfield, do the Greenfield. Dust off the plans for second runway, do the second runway. Okay? That is what we needed. A few improvements can be made to the existing Terminal 1B1C because they were designed to be temporary. That's why you hear people saying it's a tent. A section of it is a tent because it was supposed to be temporary. What was the reason? Because it was supposed to have worked for 7 years, during which you will have done Greenfield.
Right.
So once you do Greenfield, then you can come here now and do a proper permanent design for 1B, 1C, 1D. And what is not good, 1E. 1E is not good. But you cannot do that just in one day. So the plan was do Greenfield. Once Greenfield is up and running, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E should have been shut and be done afresh completely.
So if I'm to extrapolate,
Simple.
if I'm to just go, essentially what the Adani group would have come in to do,
Yes.
Kenya is able to do through
Yes.
KAA.
And even better.
Okay.
And even better.
And the
Why?
people who operate KAA, Ministry of Transport, who are these other people that you mentioned? Are they aware of this?
They are fully aware.
Okay.
The issue is implementing. Implementing is where the problem comes in. Okay. What did Adani propose? Adani was proposing to set up a new terminal, a terminal design which they never shared. Because we read the investment proposal. They never shared the exact design of how that terminal, new terminal will have been. What they were doing is that there will be improvements, initial improvements to the current terminal, taxiways and aprons that they were to do. And then phase 2, they were to set up the hotels. Okay? Very quickly to set up.
Was there a runway somewhere in this discussion?
No, I'll get to it. They were to set up the hotels. That was initially in the first 24 months. And then after they do those short upgrades, they manage the airport for...
7
No,
years.
they manage the airport first under a breather for 5 to 7 years to recoup the small
some
patchwork
small-
they
yeah.
did, and then do the second terminal, a design which they had not shared. Okay. Then at the tail end of it, I think it was on year 32, 33, is when they were to do the second runway.
Okay. Wait, with this Adani deal, was the government paying any money up front?
Nothing. Yes.
So since we're not paying anything,
Yes.
that's why we're allowing them to run the airport.
Yes, and we give them the title for Jomo.
No.
Yes.
Halt.
Yes.
Why give them the terminal? The title.
Because they are saying they need it for to assist them to raise the capital.
But then, no.
That they were not saying that, but there was a clause in the annex that JKIA will surrender a sectional title of Jomo to them, because they are saying they needed that as investment security. That's what they're saying.
Purposes and things like that.
That is what they're saying. But I can tell you now with confidence that the cloud is over. The plan was that they wanted to use that very same title to raise money so that they can build. And then now the bigger problem was that now they would get workers from India to come here with the work permits which were free, now to be the airport workers.
That was documented?
That was documented in the PPP.
The PPP.
Yes.
Now, Githae, you're saying that the Kenyan government issued the contracts to Adani without the proposals on what they were coming to do and even the master plan on how they were going to do it.
To be correct, the Kenya government had not signed the final PPP. We were at the last stage of negotiations, and the window period was to close mid of November. Okay, so we were on the final stage. But now at the final stage is when now things went beyond control. Locally, people were fighting in court, and certain injunctions had been made. But the main trigger was the indictment of the management in the U.S. court. That's what finally saved us. We did not have to go that far.
So in the absence of that indictment,
Yes,
Adani would still be around.
Adani would have been around and would have been left. The battle would have been left to us as local guys to fight.
There's something I need to understand here.
Yes.
When we say that we're able to do it locally, what do you mean? Are we saying we have the expertise to be able to build the airport? Are we saying we have the money with which we can actually fund the building?
Correct.
What are we saying?
What we are saying is very simple. Number one, we need to restructure KA. After we restructure KA, we'll have an organization that will have the capacity and the capability to implement. Because we have tried on 3-4 occasions to do big projects to transform JKIA to what it's supposed to be, but with the existing structure, it has been hard.
Is KAA under the Ministry of Transport or in the OP?
KAA today is under the Ministry of Transport, and it is operating with a law that is from 1991 that is completely outdated, and it does not address the issues of the industry.
Okay.
So the KAA of today, as the structure is it today, is very difficult to deliver.
Just walk us through this. What is it that makes it difficult? You have a board.
Simple. You have a board. Yes. You have a board with the chairman who is appointed by the president, but there is no requirement for him to have any aviation knowledge or experience of capability.
That's a bit of a problem, isn't it?
That's a huge problem. Number one. Number two, you have in the same act that outlines terms and appointment of the managing director, it does not state the experience levels required of that managing director. You have a board of 9 people. 3 or 4 of them are supposed to be appointed from members of the public, but the act is not clear enough to state the experience levels required. So members of the aviation professionals do not have a proper way to join the KA in the board.
Okay.
If we were wise, we will be able to have a proper representative of airlines in the board, representative of cargo operators in the board, representative of AMO, aviation training organizations in the board, so that we don't need to be talking from the outside.
How would that guarantee, though, that you would then see the implementation of certain plans that have already been, I mean, like you said, they've been put on paper, they've now gathered dust in, back room of some office somewhere. How would the restructuring of KAA then ensure the implementation of some of these things? And you would not need to invite external bodies to do this work.
For any major action you need to do, it needs to go to the board. The board needs to be to approve this. But what board is this? That's the issue. If the board does not understand the aviation matters, does not understand what a terminal is, does not understand the importance of a second runway, does not understand that we need additional exits to the existing runway, then what board is this?
I have to ask this question. Where then does the civil aviation body fit into this discussion?
Correct. The civil aviation body, which is KCAA, is a regulator. The KCAA, that's a separate body, is a regulator. Okay? The regulator, us as operators, we have really worked to get a civil aviation authority that serves us. And that we've worked. We've worked very well.
Is the board a representative of the industry?
Today, yes. We do have sectoral representatives in the KCAA board. Are they working the best to deliver for us? It's a bit debatable, but it's there. They are really trying. They are really trying. If today we have issues with KCA, I can tell you, the media is the last place we need to go.
But you see, KCAA doesn't just function within the boundaries of Kenya.
Its role is to be the civil aviation regulator in Kenya.
Yes, but it represents us with other international bodies with whom we have an understanding in aviation matters.
Yes, it represents us as an ICAO, yes.
Yes, exactly. Now, are we therefore saying that the boards that we have with representation have the adequate, the requisite wherewithal to be able to represent us adequately in all these partnerships that we have in the aviation world?
When you go to the international partnerships, there the board is not the one that goes. It is the technical management that goes there. Because at ICAO level, you need technocrats, you need proper aviation professionals. So there's no problem. When we go to the international forum, that is where the DG goes. That is the Director General, the DASA, the Director of Aviation Safety. So that essentially there's no
And
problem.
all these people are aviation matters savvy.
Correct. Because today, for example, for you to be the Director General of KCA, there is a prerequisite level of aviation experience that you require. And so that I can't wake up today and say, because he's my friend, I appoint him. The next thing
you can, but
you can appoint him, but I will go to court, Section 19, and you will quickly be declared that you're not qualified.
Chairman of the board?
Chairman of the board is open. Chairman of the board is open.
Why is it open?
For now, it is open, but should it be open? No, it should not be. Okay. You should have a certain level of aviation expertise.
You see why I ask this is if the head of the regulatory board is not someone who has aviation knowledge, how then can you regulate?
Thank you.
How else then can
Thank you. That is a problem. That's why if you look at the KCA board over the years, KCA is now 22 years.
Yes.
The initial chairman who was there and served for quite some time, served even longer than what was required by law, was a seasoned aviator. So the critical things that needed to be done then were done.
Okay.
After that, we got a politician in the name of Pogisho. We got another weatherman who was there. Then now we have a maritime guy. He knows aviation. He has cross-reference from aviation, but are we there yet? We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, we're winding down this just for this time at least. Yes. But the quick question here is that because we're asking which way forward after Adani's, chucked out the window, which way forward? And what I hear you saying is that the solutions are here. I'm going to mirror what former late President Moi would say, that we have local solutions to these problems are here. Yes. Would you say that is the answer?
Yes, local solutions are here. Three-pronged. Number one, reform KAA, restructure KAA, remove this outdated law, 1991 piece of legislation, too old, cannot deliver for us. That's number one. Number two, have an effective review of the master plan development for JKIA. Number 3, let us reevaluate independently, accurately of the investment value we require to get JKIA to where it is. Okay. And then number 4 is, how will we fund it? How much can government chip in, and what kind of infrastructure bond can we float? Do we need a separate company that will now hold this and do it for JKIA, or can we do it under the existing structure? But bottom line is, we have the solutions here. Second terminal, 9 years back, will have cost us 56 billion. Maybe because of inflation and everything, max should be 60 billion.
Okay.
The second runway, max 8 billion. A few other improvements, there's no way that investment can pass 100 billion.
Okay.
And when you invest in the airport, you're investing in an entity that makes money. KA has made money all the years, apart from last year, when it made a loss because of paying the penalty to Anhui. Okay. But otherwise, investing in airport is proper. You make money, and we just restructure this, get a proper infrastructure bond, manage it well. 100 billion, 120 billion, we can raise it here, but manage it openly, fairly and transparently.
Indeed. Engineer Githae Mwaniki is a senior consultant in the Aviation Information Consultants of Kenya, and we have had this conversation. More to have, and I think absolutely necessary. Thank you for being in the hot seat this morning. Those conversations do continue.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.